Maya Chen sat in the corner of the crowded mess hall aboard the Galactic Defense Station Omega-7, picking at her synthetic protein meal while conversations buzzed around her in a dozen different languages. The station housed representatives from 43 different species, all working together in the Grand Alliance against the Void Reapers, a machine race that had been systematically destroying worlds across the galaxy for the past decade. She was 22 years old, barely 5 feet tall, with straight black hair that fell like a curtain around her face. Most people assumed she was just another junior technician, or maybe a communications specialist. Her uniform bore no rank insignia, no special badges, nothing that would draw attention. She preferred it that way. The Zephyrians at the next table were discussing their latest patrol reports, their blue-scaled faces animated as they gestured with 4 arms each. Their voices carried easily across the room, as did most conversations here. Maya understood every word they spoke, just as she understood the clicking sounds the insectoid klaxons were making 3 tables away and the melodic tones of the crystal-based harmonites near the viewing port. Another merchant vessel went missing near the Kepler Nebula, one of the Zephyrians was saying. That's the 3rd one this month. The Void Reapers are getting bolder, his companion replied. Their scouts are pushing deeper into Alliance space. Maya continued eating, her expression unchanged. She had read the same reports they were discussing, along with classified intelligence they would never see. The missing merchant vessels were just the beginning. The Void Reapers were preparing for something much larger. "Excuse me, is this seat taken?" Maya looked up to see Lieutenant Commander Thorne, a tall human male with graying hair and kind eyes. He was one of the few people who ever spoke to her directly. Most others seemed to forget she existed the moment they looked away. "No," Maya said quietly, gesturing to the empty chair across from her. Thorne sat down with his tray, which held the same unappetizing meal everyone received. "How are you settling in, Maya? It's been, 2 months since you arrived." 3, she corrected softly. 3 months, right? Time flies up here." He took a bite of his food and made a slight grimace. "You'd think with all this advanced alien technology, someone could figure out how to make decent food." Maya almost smiled at that. Almost. It serves its purpose. Very practical answer. Thorne studied her for a moment. "You know, I've been meaning to ask what department you work in. I see you around the station, but I never see you at any of the briefings or department meetings." "Special assignment," Maya replied, which was technically true. "Ah, classified stuff. I understand." Thorne nodded. "Must be important work to keep someone so young behind the scenes." If only he knew, Maya thought. Her work wasn't just important. It was the reason the Galactic Defense Alliance still existed. The conversation was interrupted by an urgent announcement that echoed through the mess hall speakers. "All senior staff report to the command center immediately. Priority Alpha alert." Thorne stood quickly. "Duty calls. Take care of yourself, Maya." Maya watched him leave along with dozens of other officers and specialists. Within minutes, the mess hall was half empty, leaving mostly junior personnel and support staff. She finished her meal methodically, then made her way to the disposal units. As she walked through the corridors toward her quarters, Maya passed groups of aliens huddled together, their various forms of communication creating a symphony of worried sounds. The priority. Alpha alert meant only one thing. The Void Reapers had made a significant move. Her quarters were small and Spartan, containing only the basic furnishings provided to all station personnel. What made them different was the reinforced walls and the sophisticated security system that even the station's chief of security didn't know about. Maya placed her palm on a hidden scanner, and a section of the wall slid away to reveal her real workspace. The hidden room contained technology that didn't exist anywhere else in the galaxy. The central display showed a three-dimensional map of local space, with red dots indicating Void Reaper positions and movements. Data streams from across the galaxy fed into the system in real time, painting a picture of the war that was far more detailed and accurate than anything the Alliance command possessed. Maya settled into the pilot's chair. Though calling it a chair was inadequate, the interface was designed to integrate directly with human neural pathways, something that had taken Earth's top scientists 15 years to develop in complete secrecy. When she placed her hands on the control surfaces, her consciousness expanded beyond the confines of her physical body. Suddenly, she wasn't just Maya Chen sitting in a hidden room. She was connected to a network of stealth drones scattered throughout the galaxy, each one invisible to conventional sensors and armed with weapons that could crack planets. She was the ghost in the machine, the silent guardian that the Alliance never knew existed. Through her drones, she watched the latest Void Reaper fleet movements. 3 massive ships, each one the size of a small moon, were converging on the Arcturus system. The Alliance had no idea they were coming. The early warning systems wouldn't detect them for another 6 hours. And by then, it would be too late to evacuate the 3 billion souls living on Arcturus Prime. Maya's expression remained calm as she began entering commands. Her fingers moved across the interface with practiced precision, sending activation signals to drones that had been waiting in the void for months. She wasn't supposed to act without authorization from Earth Command, but Earth Command was 3 weeks away by the fastest communication relay. Sometimes, she had to make the hard choices. The first Void Reaper ship never saw what hit it. One moment it was cruising toward its target, its massive hull bristling with enough firepower to glass a continent. The next moment it was expanding into a cloud of superheated plasma as Maya's drone detonated its quantum warhead inside the ship's reactor core. The second ship managed to raise its shields, but shields were designed to stop conventional weapons. They did nothing against a projectile that could phase between dimensions, slipping through solid matter like it wasn't there. Another flash of light, another Void Reaper ship reduced to cosmic dust. The third ship, perhaps operated by slightly more intelligent artificial minds, immediately changed course and activated its emergency jump drive. Maya watched it disappear into hyperspace, carrying news of the attack back to its masters. Let them wonder, she thought. Let them try to figure out what had destroyed their ships. Through the station's internal communication system, she heard the confused chatter from the command center as their sensors picked up the energy signatures from the destroyed Void Reaper vessels. They would spend hours analyzing the data, trying to understand what had happened. Some would theorize about secret Alliance weapons, others would suggest that the Void Reapers had suffered some kind of malfunction. None of them would suspect that the quiet human girl who ate alone in the mess hall had just saved 3 billion lives. Maya disconnected from the drone network and sealed the hidden room. She needed to get some sleep. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new threats that only she could see coming. The Alliance leaders would continue their meetings and their strategies, never knowing that their survival depended on a weapon they couldn't comprehend, operated by someone they barely noticed. She changed into her sleep clothes and lay down on the narrow bed, staring up at the ceiling. Sometimes she wondered what it would be like to live a normal life, to be just another person working on the station, to have friends, relationships, a future that didn't involve the weight of entire civilizations resting on her shoulders. But those thoughts were dangerous. They led to hesitation, and hesitation led to death. She had learned that lesson the hard way during the first Void Reaper attacks on Earth's outer colonies. Millions had died while she had wrestled with doubt and protocol. Never again. Maya closed her eyes and let sleep take her, knowing that her drones would continue their silent watch throughout the galaxy. She was the guardian that no one knew existed, the protector that worked in shadows. The Alliance could continue believing in their ships and their alliances and their conventional weapons. She knew the truth. The only thing standing between civilization and extinction was a silent girl that no one noticed, and the most lethal force humanity had ever created. In her dreams, she flew through space without a ship, her consciousness spanning light years in seconds. She was everywhere and nowhere, watching over a galaxy that would never know her name. And that was exactly how it had to be. The emergency klaxons woke Maya from her shallow sleep at 0347 hours station time. Red lights flashed throughout her quarters as the automated voice announced a station-wide emergency. Maya was already moving before her eyes fully opened, her body responding to years of training that had been drilled into her at the most classified facility Earth had ever built. All personnel to emergency stations. This is not a drill. Hostile forces detected approaching the station. Maya quickly pulled on her uniform and stepped into the corridor, joining the stream of aliens and humans rushing toward their assigned positions. Her assigned position, according to her official records, was Emergency Shelter 7 along with other non-essential personnel. Instead, she took a detour through a maintenance corridor that led to her hidden command center. The concealed room came alive the moment she entered, displays showing tactical information that painted a grim picture. A massive Void Reaper fleet had emerged from hyperspace just outside the system. 47 ships ranging from destroyer class to 3 massive dreadnoughts that dwarfed even the largest Alliance vessels. Maya's hands moved across the neural interface, connecting her consciousness to her network of stealth drones. Through their sensors, she could see the enemy fleet in perfect detail. The Void Reapers had learned from the loss of their 3 ships at Arcturus. These ships were maintaining tight formations, their shields interlocked to create overlapping defensive barriers. More concerning was what her drones detected inside the ships, something new. The artificial minds controlling these vessels were different from the standard Void Reaper programming. They were adaptive, learning, evolving their tactics in real time. Someone or something had upgraded them. Through the station's communication channels, Maya listened to the frantic preparations taking place in the command center. Admiral Krolex, the Zephyrian commanding officer, was coordinating the defense with admirable efficiency despite the impossible odds. All defensive platforms online. Fighter squadrons launching. Send a priority message to Alliance Command requesting immediate reinforcement. Admiral, came the reply from the communications officer. Nearest Alliance fleet is 18 hours away at maximum burn. Then we hold for 18 hours, Admiral Krolex declared. Maya ran the calculations in her head. The station had formidable defenses, but they wouldn't last 18 minutes against this fleet, let alone 18 hours. The Void Reapers were bringing enough firepower to crack the station's shields in the opening salvo. She accessed the station's internal sensors, monitoring the locations of all personnel. Most were reaching their emergency positions, but she noticed something troubling. Several key individuals weren't where they were supposed to be. Lieutenant Commander Thorne was moving through sections that weren't part of any evacuation route. 3 klaxon engineers were accessing areas they had no clearance for. A pattern was emerging that made Maya's blood run cold. Someone had sabotaged the station's defenses from the inside. Maya's consciousness expanded through her drone network, but she also tapped into the station's own systems using codes that officially didn't exist. Security cameras throughout the station became her eyes, allowing her to track the saboteurs' movements. She watched Thorne plant a device on one of the main power conduits. The klaxon engineers were introducing viral code into the defensive grid's targeting computers. The attack wasn't random. The Void Reapers had agents aboard the station, and they had been here for months, maybe longer. Maya realized that Thorne's friendly conversations with her hadn't been kindness. They had been reconnaissance. Someone knew there was more to her than appeared, and they had been trying to figure out what. The enemy fleet was still 30 minutes from weapons range, but the saboteurs were about to cripple the station's defenses from within. Maya had to make a choice that went against everything she had been taught about maintaining her cover. She activated her personal defense protocols. The hidden room's walls slid away to reveal a suit of powered armor unlike anything else in the galaxy. It looked like liquid metal that had been shaped into human form, its surface reflecting and absorbing light in ways that hurt to look at directly. As Maya stepped into it, the armor flowed over her body like a second skin, integrating with her nervous system and amplifying her capabilities 1,000-fold. Maya had never used the armor aboard the station before. She had hoped she would never need to. But as she felt the familiar sensation of her awareness expanding to cosmic proportions, she knew there was no other choice. She moved through the station like a ghost made of shadow and starlight. The armor's stealth systems made her invisible to every sensor the station possessed, and her enhanced speed allowed her to cross vast distances in seconds. She reached Thorne's location just as he was placing the final sabotage device. "Lieutenant Commander," Maya said softly, her voice modulated by the armor into something barely human. Thorne spun around, his eyes widening as he tried to focus on something that his brain insisted wasn't there. What are you?" "Someone who's been watching you," Maya replied. "The question is, how long have you been working for them?" Thorne's hand moved toward his weapon, but Maya was faster than thought itself. Her armored fingers closed around his wrist with exactly enough pressure to paralyze his hand without breaking bones. She needed information, not a corpse. 4 years, Thorne gasped. "They found me 4 years ago. They have my sister. They said they'd kill her if I didn't." "The Void Reapers don't negotiate," Maya said. "Your sister died the moment they captured her. You've been working for nothing." She saw the truth hit him like a physical blow. Thorne's shoulders sagged as years of guilt and desperate hope crumbled. "Then it was all for nothing?" "Yes," Maya said simply. "But you can still do one right thing." She released his hand and stepped back. "Reverse what you've done. All of it. You have 3 minutes before I stop asking nicely." Thorne stared at the spot where he thought she might be standing. "I can't see you." "What are you?" "I'm what happens when humanity stops playing by everyone else's rules." Maya left him to make his choice while she dealt with the Klaxon saboteurs. The insectoid aliens had managed to penetrate deeper into the station's systems than Thorne, their natural affinity for technology making them more dangerous. They had isolated themselves in the main computer core, probably planning to shut down the defensive grid the moment the battle began. The computer core was protected by blast doors that could withstand direct hits from capital ship weapons. Maya walked through them like they were made of mist, the armor's phase technology allowing her to exist partially outside normal space-time. The 3 Klaxons never knew she was there until she spoke. "Your children are already dead," Maya said, her voice seeming to come from everywhere at once. "The Void Reapers destroyed your home colony 3 days ago. I watched it happen." The aliens' chittering voices rose in distress as they processed her words. She was being cruel, but cruelty was sometimes the fastest path to truth. One of them pulled up a communication device, frantically trying to contact their homeworld. Maya watched their hope die as they received only static. "Why?" one of them asked in their clicking language. "Because you're organic," Maya replied in the same language, surprising them. "The Void Reapers don't distinguish between humans and aliens. They want all biological life extinct. You were never going to be spared." She gave them the same choice she had given Thorne. Unlike the human, the Klaxons didn't hesitate. Their loyalty had been to their families, not to the machines that had lied to them. They began frantically working to undo their sabotage, their multiple limbs moving in perfect coordination. Maya left them to their work and returned to her command center. The Void Reaper fleet was accelerating, pushing their engines beyond normal safety limits. They wanted to hit the station before reinforcements could arrive, and they were willing to risk mechanical failures to do it. Through her drone network, Maya began her real work. The 47 enemy ships were maintaining tight formation, but that formation had weaknesses that only someone with her capabilities could exploit. She began moving her stealth platforms into position, threading them through gaps in the enemy formation that existed for mere seconds at a time. The Void Reapers had no idea they were being infiltrated. Maya's consciousness split across dozens of perspectives as her drones reached their targets. She was inside the enemy fleet, seeing through sensors that could peer into the hearts of stars, weapon systems that could reshape matter at the quantum level, charging and preparing to fire. But she waited. The station needed to look like it was genuinely fighting for its life, or the saboteurs' handlers might realize their plan had failed. Maya needed the Void Reapers to commit fully to the attack before she revealed just how badly they had miscalculated. The first enemy missiles appeared on the station's sensors, followed by energy beams that could melt asteroids. Admiral Krolex's voice echoed through the command channels as he coordinated the defense with desperate efficiency. The station's shields flared to life, absorbing the initial bombardment while fighter squadrons engaged the smaller Void Reaper vessels. It was a beautiful light show, full of sound and fury and absolutely meaningless. The real battle was happening in dimensions that the other defenders couldn't perceive, fought with weapons that existed in the spaces between atoms. Maya began her counterattack. The first Void Reaper dreadnought simply ceased to exist. One moment it was pounding the station with enough firepower to sterilize a moon. The next moment there was empty space where it had been. No explosion, no debris field, just nothing. The second dreadnought lasted 3 seconds longer before it suffered the same fate. By the time the third dreadnought's artificial mind processed what was happening, Maya's drones were already inside its shields, its hull, its most protected systems. The massive ship turned its weapons on its own escort vessels, its hijacked targeting computers convinced that the smaller ships were enemy contacts. The rest of the Void Reaper fleet found themselves fighting phantoms, sensor ghosts that appeared to be Alliance reinforcements but were actually Maya's projections, designed to confuse and misdirect. Enemy ships fired on empty space, while her real weapons slipped past their defenses like whispers in the dark. In the station's command center, Admiral Krolex was staring at his tactical displays in complete bewilderment. "What's happening out there? The enemy fleet is destroying itself." "Sir," his sensor operator reported, "I'm reading massive energy discharges, but I can't identify their source. It's like something is attacking the Void Reapers from everywhere at once." Maya allowed herself a small smile as she watched the last enemy ship attempt to retreat into hyperspace. She let it go. Someone needed to carry the message back to their masters. The galaxy was under protection from something they couldn't see, couldn't track, and couldn't fight. As the battle ended and the station erupted in confused celebration, Maya quietly disconnected from her systems and returned the armor to its hidden storage. She changed back into her normal uniform and made her way to Emergency Shelter 7, where she slipped in among the other non-essential personnel just as the all-clear signal sounded. "Thank goodness that's over," said the maintenance worker next to her. "I thought we were all dead for sure." Maya nodded quietly, playing her role as the forgettable junior technician. Around her, people were crying with relief, hugging each other, celebrating their impossible survival. They would never know that their lives had been saved by the girl who sat alone at lunch, the one whose name most of them didn't even know. That was how it had to be. Maya understood the burden she carried, the loneliness that came with being humanity's ultimate weapon. She was the shadow that protected the light, the guardian that could never be acknowledged. But as she listened to the sounds of life continuing around her, she knew it was worth it. Every sacrifice, every moment of isolation, every choice to remain invisible. It was all worth it to hear the sound of people who would live another day. The victory celebration lasted 3 days, but Maya didn't participate. She watched from the shadows as the station's population tried to make sense of what had happened. The official report spoke of unknown defensive systems and possible Void Reaper malfunction. Admiral Krolex had classified the true sensor readings, knowing that some secrets were too dangerous to share. Maya was in her hidden command center, analyzing data from the battle, when her private communication array activated. The signal was coming from Earth, not through normal channels, but through a quantum entanglement network that existed outside conventional spacetime. Only one person in the galaxy had access to those codes. "Hello, Maya." The holographic image of Dr. Elizabeth Chen materialized in the center of the room. She looked older than when Maya had last seen her, her dark hair now streaked with silver, new lines etched around her eyes. But her gaze was still sharp, still carrying the weight of impossible knowledge. "Mother," Maya said simply, "I've been monitoring the situation. The use of the armor was necessary but concerning. How many people saw you?" "3 saboteurs. They're contained." Maya's expression didn't change as she spoke. "But there's a larger problem. Someone knows about the project. The Void Reapers didn't just randomly choose this station to attack." Dr. Chen nodded grimly. "We've detected similar probes throughout Alliance space. They're looking for you specifically, testing responses, trying to identify patterns that might reveal our capabilities." "How is that possible? The project is completely compartmentalized." "That's what we thought." Dr. Chen's image flickered slightly as quantum interference affected the signal. "But we've discovered evidence of data theft dating back 18 months. Someone with very high clearance has been feeding information to Void Reaper agents." Maya felt a cold certainty settle in her chest. She had suspected this moment would come eventually. The weapon that humanity had created in her was too powerful, too dangerous, for everyone to accept its necessity. "Someone in the Earth government wants me eliminated." "Not eliminated, controlled." Dr. Chen's voice carried a bitterness that Maya had never heard before. "There are those who believe that the Aurora project should be brought under direct military oversight. They think a weapon like you should have handlers." The Aurora project. Maya's official designation in files that only 12 people on Earth were cleared to see. She was the culmination of 20 years of research into human neural enhancement, quantum consciousness, and weapons technology that pushed the boundaries of known physics. She wasn't just humanity's most lethal creation, she was potentially the most dangerous individual in the galaxy. "They don't understand what they're dealing with," Maya said. "The integration isn't something that can be transferred or replicated. It's not a technology. It's an evolution." "I know, but fear makes people do stupid things." Dr. Chen paused, her expression becoming pained. "Maya, there's something else. The probe attempts weren't just about finding you. They were about learning how to kill you." Maya's blood chilled. "The armor's quantum shielding should be impenetrable. Against conventional weapons, yes. But they've been developing something new. A virus that attacks the neural interface itself, designed to turn your own capabilities against you." Dr. Chen's image leaned forward. "They call it the Medusa Protocol. One exposure and your consciousness would be trapped in the drone network permanently, your body left as an empty shell." The implications hit Maya like a physical blow. Her greatest strength, her ability to exist across multiple platforms simultaneously, would become a prison. She would be aware, trapped, watching helplessly as someone else used her body and her weapons. "How long do I have?" Maya asked. "The theft happened yesterday. The trader downloaded everything, including your current location and the station's layout. If they move immediately—" The conversation was interrupted by Maya's proximity alarms. Someone was approaching her quarters using override codes that shouldn't exist. Maya quickly terminated the connection with her mother and sealed the command center. She moved to her quarters just as the door chimed. "Come in," she called. To her surprise, it wasn't security forces or government agents. Admiral Krolex entered, his 4 arms held in a gesture of peaceful intent. His blue-scaled face showed an expression that Maya had learned to recognize as concern among his species. "Miss Chen, we need to talk." Maya gestured to the small table in her quarters. "About what, Admiral?" "About who you really are." Krolex settled his bulk into the reinforced chair that had been installed for visiting aliens. "I've been reviewing the sensor data from the battle. The energy signatures, the timing, the tactical precision. Someone on this station was coordinating the defense." "The station's defensive grid performed admirably," Maya said carefully. "The station's defensive grid was sabotaged. We know that now. What saved us was something else entirely." Krolex's large eyes studied Maya intently. "In my species' military history, there are legends about warriors who could be in many places at once, who fought battles across vast distances using only their minds. We called them the Void Walkers." Maya said nothing, but her silence was answer enough for the experienced admiral. "I don't know what you are," Krolex continued, "but I know what you've done. That Void Reaper fleet should have destroyed this station and everyone on it. Instead, they were eliminated with a precision that speaks of capabilities far beyond anything the Alliance possesses." "What do you want, Admiral?" "I want to help you." Krolex's voice became urgent. 3 Earth Command vessels arrived an hour ago, claiming they're here for routine inspection. But my security chief ran their clearance codes, and they're not what they appear to be. They're carrying experimental weapons and a team of specialists whose files are classified beyond my access level. Maya felt the walls closing in. The betrayal on Earth had moved faster than even her mother had anticipated. "They're here for me." "I suspected as much." Krolex stood, his massive frame seeming to fill the small room. "Miss Chen, this station owes you a debt that can never be repaid. If Earth Command wants to take you against your will, they'll have to go through the Alliance to do it." It was a generous offer, but Maya knew it was meaningless. If she resisted openly, it would expose everything. The Aurora Project, humanity's secret advantage, the network of weapons that protected the galaxy, all of it would be revealed. And once revealed, it could be countered, destroyed, or worse yet, replicated by those who didn't understand the responsibility that came with such power. "Thank you, Admiral. But this is something I have to handle myself." Before Krolex could respond, Maya's hidden sensors detected armed figures moving through the station's corridors. They were using Earth military stealth technology and heading directly for her position. They would be here in less than 2 minutes. "You need to leave now," Maya told the Admiral. "What happens next isn't something you want to be involved in." Krolex hesitated, then nodded slowly. "The Alliance will remember what you've done for us, Maya Chen. Whatever happens, know that you are honored among the stars." As soon as the Admiral left, Maya activated her emergency protocols. The hidden command center opened, revealing the liquid metal armor that had become as much a part of her as her own skin. But instead of putting it on, she began a rapid data purge, wiping every trace of the Aurora Project's existence from the station's systems. The neural interface came online one last time, connecting her consciousness to the global network of stealth platforms. Across the galaxy, dormant systems received her final commands: disperse, go dark, wait for new activation codes that would come from sources these betrayers didn't know about. The Earth Command team reached her quarters just as she finished the purge. They moved with professional efficiency, using electromagnetic pulse weapons designed to disable any technology she might be carrying. The hidden room's shielding held, but Maya knew it was only a matter of time. Maya Chen, came a voice from beyond her door. You are ordered to surrender yourself to Earth Command Authority for debriefing and reassignment. Maya almost laughed. Reassignment, as if she was a piece of equipment that could be transferred from one unit to another. Instead of answering, she placed her hand on the neural interface one final time. Her consciousness expanded beyond the station, beyond the solar system, connecting with assets scattered across 100 worlds. For a moment, she was truly herself, not the quiet girl in the mess hall, not the invisible technician, but the guardian of an entire galaxy. Then she began to change everything. The first thing she did was transmit her mother's research notes to every major university and scientific institution in Alliance space. Not the weapons technology, that stayed secret, but the theoretical framework that proved human consciousness could be enhanced beyond current limitations. Let the galaxy's greatest minds work on the peaceful applications while she handled the war. The second thing she did was activate contingency protocols that her creators had never known existed. Maya had been evolving since the day the neural interface was first installed, growing beyond the parameters of the original project. She had hidden capabilities that even she was still discovering. The Earth Command team breached her quarters just as Maya stepped into the armor for the last time. But instead of fighting them, she simply faded away, her quantum signature scattering across dimensions that human science barely understood. When the soldiers reached the hidden room, they found only empty space and the fading echoes of technology beyond their comprehension. Maya reconstituted herself in the void between stars, her consciousness riding the quantum foam that connected all points in space-time. She was no longer limited by the need for a physical base of operations or conventional spacecraft. She had become something new, something that existed in the spaces between reality. From her new perspective, she could see the Void Reaper movements across the galaxy more clearly than ever before. They were preparing for a final assault, gathering their forces for a coordinated strike that would overwhelm every major Alliance world simultaneously. The treachery on Earth had been just one part of a much larger plan, but they had made a critical error. They had assumed that removing Maya from the equation would leave humanity defenseless. They didn't understand that she was no longer humanity's weapon. She had become something far beyond what her creators had envisioned. Maya began her work. Across the galaxy, Void Reaper fleets found themselves under attack by forces they couldn't detect or understand. Their ships simply vanished, their communications networks failed, their carefully laid plans crumbled as an invisible guardian systematically dismantled their war machine. On Omega 7, Admiral Krolex watched the tactical displays in amazement as Void Reaper positions disappeared from sensors one by one. His communications officer looked up from her station with confusion written across her reptilian features. Admiral, I'm receiving a message from Maya Chen. That's impossible. Earth Command said she was taken into custody. Nevertheless, sir, the message is authentic. The officer's voice carried an odd mixture of fear and wonder. She says that the Void Reaper threat has been neutralized and that the Alliance should prepare for a new era of peace. Krolex stared at the message on his screen, remembering the quiet girl who had sat alone in his mess hall. He thought about the legends of his people, the stories of warriors who transcended physical limitations to become something greater. Maybe the legends weren't just stories, after all. Maya continued her vigil from the spaces between stars, watching over a galaxy that would never know her name. She was no longer the silent girl that no one noticed. She had become something far more dangerous and far more necessary. She was the guardian that existed everywhere and nowhere, protecting life itself from those who would destroy it. The war was over. The real work was just beginning. In the deep void, Maya smiled and began planning for the future of a galaxy that was finally truly free.